From the open season property studio, welcome to SuperTalk Outdoors, where we celebrate every single Monday at lunchtime the world-class outdoors of the state of Mississippi, because we are the capital of the outdoors in America. I want to thank you for joining us on the powerful SuperTalk Mississippi network. You can also listen to SuperTalk Outdoors at supertalk.fm, Amazon Alexa, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, or at SuperTalk TV at C-Spire TV. But some of you are watching on Facebook or YouTube or watching on your favorite podcast. And if you are, I just want to say, first of all, we really appreciate it. But it is May the 20th, 2024. Before we get to our guests today, we got two great guests today, incidentally. The commission had its first meeting since Leonard Bentz was kicked off. He wasn't confirmed, and it was smooth. I was thinking this morning, what are some of the smooth phrases that I've heard along the way? Well, we all know smooth as silk, smooth as butter, smooth as a baby's butt. Here's a really good one. Smoother than a greased pig at a county fair. I think that fits pretty good for Mississippi. And I thought of this one. This one's, I think, really applicable. It was smoother than a cricket's chirp on a summer evening, creating a harmonious rhythm of success. That meeting was smooth. And, listen, I heard from a number of people during the meeting, and they were all looking forward to kind of sort of turning this chapter and moving forward. But listen, it matters. It matters. What we've learned over the past 2 years of disruption is that who the governor appoints to the commission matters a lot. So the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks Commission is more on people's radar screen today than it has been. A little bit too much out of sight, out of mind over the last couple of years. But it matters because they're making crucial decisions about wildlife and protection of wildlife species in the state. It matters because they're developing and managing and implementing management policies and regulations like our hunting regulations. The commission has a lot of stakeholders, hunters and conservationists and scientists and the general public. It's really important that we have diverse perspectives involved in this, and so that we take all of that into account as we make decisions. We cannot have a commissioner guided by a single special interest, ignoring the good of the whole. That's one of the big lessons we learned over the last couple of years. One of the important things we see at every meeting is the role that law enforcement plays, and there's a great oversight that the commission plays as it relates to that. So maintaining the integrity of wildlife protection measures that they put in place, is that important. And I think of all the things that I'm going to say, this is probably one of the most important. There has to be a sense of stewardship and responsibility. And they need to lead by example. They have to be beyond reproach, which is to say they can't violate state laws. They can't violate hunting laws. And they can't make decisions on that commission that impact them personally. We can't, the public good. They protect the public trust. That should be their number one objective. So the governor has a really important role to play as he looks at individuals. I hope he takes his sweet time and he looks at expertise. And it doesn't necessarily, they don't have to be a biologist or forest management expert. They need to be someone who cares deeply about hunting and conservation in this state. They need to have a commitment. They need to have integrity and to uphold those responsibilities. I think the governor is going to take his time, and I hope that he has some wonderful people. A lot of you listening now, put your name in the hat. Let the governor know that you're interested. This is really important. Hey, listen, I had my first conversation with Ramsey Russell back in 2021, and when I had that discussion, I looked back at when I was introducing him, and I read a quote from Aldo Leopold, and it said, "There are some who live without wild things and some who cannot." I love that quote. There are some who live there are some who live without wild things and some who cannot. I love that phrase. My guest brings historic perspective to why Mississippi lives with wild things. He's the guy who always says it's duck season somewhere. He's got a great podcast. He represents Mississippi so well. He's internationally popular. And speaking of internationally popular in the duck community, he's actually coming to us from Argentina today. Without any further ado, let me welcome back my friend Ramsey Russell. How you doing, Ramsey?
Good. I'm good, Ricky. Good to see y'all, man. Live from Argentina. I bet it's hot as blazes in Mississippi. It was when I left. And can you believe we got up this morning? It was about 39 or 40 degrees with a great breeze. It felt like duck season. It was duck season. I'm down here with some Louisiana boys at one of our top lodges in Argentina. I would say it's the best duck hunt on earth if you like the idea of stepping back to very generous limits. And we just had a great time this morning. It was amazing. Now everybody, you're gonna see some folks trickling in behind me. They've got some cookies and brownies and all kinds of little breakfast snacks laid out for us. When we get back, hot coffee and wine, whatever you want. But kind of in before lunch. But yeah,
Well,
good
listen,
to see y'all. Glad to be here.
it's good to see you too, my friend. GetDucks.com is how you can find more about Ramsey. But Ramsey, you have, last I remember, you've been duck hunting and traveled 6 continents. So for you to say you've been in Argentina and it's one of the best on earth, that is saying something. You bring perspective to that statement, don't you?
Yes, sir, I do. I try to. That's kind of what we do. We run a travel business and people rely on us to put them in the right lodges at the right time. And that requires that I put boots on the ground. Somebody asked me last night, how many times do I duck hunt in the course of a year? And I think this morning was hunt number 127 since, and and I'm going to be down here. Believe it or not, going into my 3rd week in Argentina and I've only got 10 more left. And yeah, so it's going to be it'll be a while before I get back, but I love it. We make the spin. We represent a lot of outfitters down here, and I'm continuously looking for newer or better locations and outfitters. But the lodge I'm at right now, we call Las Flores. It's a high volume duck hunt, high volume relative to Mississippi. Can you believe that you're liable to shoot 7 or 8 times a day? Let's just say 7 or 8 daily limits per day down here. So in the course of a 5 or 6 day hunt, shoot as many as you could shoot in the state of Mississippi if you limited out every day during the season.
Wow.
It goes to a lot of your intro, Ricky, is now let me say this, they don't have yet, it's coming, boys, it's coming. They don't yet have the level of wildlife management and wildlife interest that we do in North America. In fact, nobody on earth has the North American model that we have going for us, which is to say that the scientific communities, the federal agencies, the state agencies, the universities can continue to do research, all in the interest of hunting and hunting culture. They do not have that here. What they do have is an abundance of real natural habitat and a lot of duck with not many duck hunters. I mean, there's probably less duck hunters in the whole country of Argentina, and I mean Argentine duck hunters, than there is in Jackson, Mississippi. Way fewer, I'd say, than the state of Mississippi. You know what I'm saying? And it really helps out. But they believe it or not, they have anti-hunters. And back during the pandemic, these anti-hunters, while we were all cleaning out our closets and watching Tiger King, they wound up and took an interest in these birds. Now, they don't have any scientific basis, and it just so happens that the outfitter I'm hunting with at Las Flores, he and some others, but I'm going to give him a lot of credit. They got together, and in the absence of any survey and any science, they rolled up their sleeves and they began to go out and count ducks and coordinate with some local biologists and get some numbers together. And just in this one province in Argentina, there's 6 provinces in the country that have ducks. This one province has around 25 million ducks. Can you imagine?
Wow.
It's unbelievable. 25 million ducks in just this one province of Argentina. And they finally, this year, they rounded a curve with the anti-hunters. The biologists come out, they looked at the data and said, hunt's not going to hurt this bird numbers. We've got a plenty of ducks. And and they're in North America, they've said forever, they've demonstrated empirically that habitat is what produces ducks. Hunting related harvest is sustainable. It doesn't drive populations. So anyway, it's always interesting. It's really going down to some of these other countries and seeing, I should say, their lack of management and how their habitats and their abundance of wildlife and everything else. It's really shaped my perspective when it comes to how blessed we are in the state of Mississippi to have what we have in terms of not just hunting, but hunting culture. And because we have so many hunters and because the landscape is constantly changing with civilization, I just know that the resources we have do not happen by accident.
I know it doesn't. I know it doesn't. Listen, when we come back on the other side with Get Ducks, Ramsey Russell, we'll talk about how he never loses track of his Mississippi Delta roots. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. Listen, we're coming to you from the Open Season Property Studio. No matter what kind of hunting you are into, whether you're looking for 40 acres or 4,000 acres, if you're looking to buy land, you need someone you can trust. He's a hunting land hunter. Call Lake Pickle from Open Season Properties. Call 601-750-2487, 601-750-2487. In fact, Lake Pickle's actually going to be joining me in the second half of the show here shortly. But we're having a chat with my friend Ramsey Russell. He's from the Mississippi Delta. He travels around the world. He's actually in Argentina as we speak. He's been there for 3 weeks and will have been there for over a couple of months before it's all said and done. But anyway, Ramsey, it's a pleasure to get with you. But you don't ever lose sight of your Mississippi Delta roots, do you?
No, you don't. You can't. You know, the late Hank Burdine used to say, "You're from the Mississippi Delta. You're Mississippi Delta through and through, no matter where you are." And you don't. You know, I realized. I don't know. I just realized at some point in time recently that you know, if you're from Mississippi, you're always from Mississippi. You take Mississippi with you. You can be. I could be down here in Argentina for the next 5 years, and guess what? I'm still a Mississippian. You know, and you know, especially with the duck hunting and the hunting and stuff like that. And Argentina, this part of Argentina especially, is so familiar with the row crop agriculture like soybeans and corn and milo and the doves and the ducks. I kind of sort of feel at home. They talk funny down here. Of course, they think I talk funny with his accent. You know, but it's you always take Mississippi with you. It is, you know, home is who you are, and Mississippi is my home.
Well, I've referred to you before as one of Mississippi's ambassadors because you are representing us all around the world. But listen, one of the things I love about your Duck Season Somewhere podcast, I really enjoy just in general, first of all, the wide variety of guests that you have. But the beauty of it is you're able to sprinkle in Mississippi. So when you sprinkle in Mississippi, you're able to share with the world because you've got listeners from all over the world who are paying attention to your podcast. You're able to sprinkle in Mississippi to teach them how serious we are about conservation. That's fun to be able to do that, isn't it?
It really is. It really, truly is. But you talk about that Mississippi theme. About 4 or 5 years ago, some respected friends of mine that also have a podcast out of Texas, they said, "Well, Ramsey, you're the story. You're the people that, you know, it's your story, not anybody you're going to talk to." And I said, "Well, you know, the people I meet and hunt and share time with, they are my story because you kind of are who you surround yourself with, right?" And so I believe whether I'm sitting in Minnesota talking to somebody from Minnesota or if I'm Mississippi itself, you know, it's still my story. But it's so easy when you start looking at the cultural backdrop. You know, we've done does, we've done Luscos, we've done Crystal Grill. It's so much Mississippi culture abound. It's easy to tell a story, and because my story is Mississippi, it's hard to divest myself from Mississippi, no matter where I'm sitting. I mean, yeah. Mississippi's natural resources shape who I am, and I think it shaped probably 100% of all your listeners, whether they realize it or not. And I just tell you, you come to these other countries where they don't have a hunting culture like we do. They don't have the number of hunters. Maybe they've got more abundant habitat because civilization still hadn't reached the entire landscape. And what we have in Mississippi and throughout North America right now does not exist by accident. It is to go to the heart of your introduction. It is why it is so important who those commissioners are and what their policy is. It should affect all of us. It should affect wildlife, and it should affect me, and it should affect my grandkids. That's the whole basis of it all. It's that important, Ricky.
Well, you know what's interesting is that if I'm the governor, and I'm sure this is going to be the case with Governor Tate Reeves as we go forward, but if I'm the governor and I've seen and heard of the disruption over the last couple of years on the commission, then I'm really going to be focused on trying to turn that heat down. I'm going to try to get the focus back on conservation and what's best for the public good, build the public trust back into the process. And look, if I've got a wide variety of people who are aligned with me, and good Lord knows that he has people who support him, who are incredibly aligned with him, who are incredible leaders in this state, who have watched the situation themselves. I want those people to put their names in the hat and say, Governor, I'm going to contribute toward bringing the focus back to what matters, and that is the public good. And hopefully those kind of people will put their names in the hat, and the governor will have a great selection criteria in place. And then we can put someone in there who's going to lead by example and be more like a Billy Munger. I like to hold Billy Munger up as an example because I think
what a great one.
He's a terrific commissioner.
I've got confidence. I've got a lot of confidence in Governor Tate Reeves. I really, truly do. I think he's a smart guy. I think he's a very, very heck, I voted for him. I'd vote for him every time. You see what I'm saying? I just really think that it was an embarrassment what happened, that ridiculous proposal they made that Billy Munger shot down about getting the tame ducks. It was just embarrassing. And over the turkey bait and stuff, it was embarrassing for the state of Mississippi. And I believe I got a lot of confidence and faith in Governor Reeves for straightening that thing out. I think he's going to hire the right people from here.
He's an economic development governor. He's going to base his whole legacy on economic development. I mean, they're kicking off today the largest economic development project in the history of the state. So what we have to do, we have to get back in tune with the reality that the outdoors arena, the outdoors economy in Mississippi is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Okay, we can't take it for granted. It just kind of moves along and we don't pay attention to it. But we got to get it back into focus. The governor's got to look at it and say, wait a minute. When we make decisions to put a commissioner in there based on special interests and not based on the greater good, we're disrupting the reality of what these guys have to do to manage that outdoors economy. And it's not a good thing. So I think I think he and his staff, that you got to know they're just tired of hearing about it. And that what they want to do is right the ship, move back forward again. I would tell them, talk to Billy Munger, hold him up as an example, get his advice. He's well connected. Best practices should drive us. I mean, when you see a good, duck caller, you lean toward them. That's right. What they do. You know what I'm saying? So that's right. I think we can get that done. I'm sure we can. Hey, listen. Your podcast, it never gets old. It's fun doing it, isn't it?
Yes, sir. I enjoy doing it. I love people. I love hunters, and I love hearing that story. And everybody's got a story, Ricky. Everybody you meet has got a story. How they got into this thing, what they're passionate about, what their past is, and I fall into it. I love it.
Yeah, I know. I can tell you do. What's the biggest surprise you've gotten in terms of who you've heard from, and where did in terms of sort of the international appeal of your show? What's the biggest surprise you've gotten in terms of feedback?
I'm just surprised that so many people in places like Iran and Saudi Arabia and Australia and Argentina and Mexico listen to Mississippi Duck Hunters podcast. But from all over the world, people listen to us, and it's shocking to me. It truly is. But I just got to say this. One of the things I did not expect when I started interviewing people, especially some of the older guys. And I'm not getting any younger. I'm one of them older guys now. I'm in that old geezer club, fast approaching. But you talk to some of these guys that hunted back in Mississippi back in the heyday of it all, back when greenheads darkened the sky and all that good stuff, and they themselves were die-hard duck killers. And as we talk about old dogs, we talk about old places, we talk about old hunting buddies, we talk about just hunting itself. What has shocked me and humbled me the most is how I'll be sitting there scratching down notes and I'll hear the man's voice crack and look up. He's got a tear rolling down his cheek because it's so, what this duck hunting thing is and this resource we have is so vitally important to who he is. You know, I think we talked about this recently, Ricky, that wildlife is more than just something that feeds our families and feeds our traditions. It is a part of the Deep South's cultural identity.
It is.
And it's vitally important that we take care of it. And that's kind of the recurring theme that keeps coming up and up and up when I hear these stories is how that duck or that dove, or that deer really is so integral to a human's cultural identity, who he is as a human being.
Well, that's why that Aldo Leopold statement, there are some who can live without wild things and some who cannot. Most Mississippians cannot. It's part of our heritage. It defines us. The link to wild things defines us. And that's what this show is all about, reminding people about that and keeping us connected and, reminding us our love and why we got to cherish that. So listen, have fun down in Argentina, my friend.
Thank y'all. Thank you for having me.
You bet. This has been Ramsey Russell from Get Ducks. And have a good one, my friend. When we come back on the other side, we'll be joined by Lake Pickle. We'll see you after this.